Have you ever felt like, no matter how hard you try, prosperity always seems to be one step ahead, as if it slips through the cracks in your reality? That quiet restlessness that arises when you see others thriving smoothly, while your achievements seem to be accompanied by double the effort, doubts, and even a certain emotional burden. If this has ever crossed your mind, or if it does often, stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may surprise you. Many people live trapped in invisible patterns that shape their decisions, their behaviors, and even their dreams. And you know what's even more curious? These patterns aren't always conscious. They're there, camouflaged in thoughts we repeat without realizing it. Money is hard to make. I can't make a mistake or I'll lose everything. Maybe prosperity isn't for me. These are just a few examples of mental blocks of scarcity, subtle but powerful obstacles that limit the natural flow of abundance in our lives. It's not just about beliefs. We're talking about deep mental structures, often built in childhood, through innocent words from our parents, painful experiences, or societal conditioning. These are ideas that have become engraved in the subconscious as absolute truths. And that's precisely why, even when we try to change externally, by investing, studying, seeking opportunities, the feeling of lack, fear, or inadequacy continues to haunt us. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever tried to, take a step toward prosperity and felt as if something internal was holding you back? This something could be a blockage. And understanding how it works is the first step to freeing your mind and making room for true abundance, the kind that flows without resistance, with ease and in tune with the universe. In this video, we'll explore what these blocks are, how they form, and most importantly, how to clear them consciously and energetically. Prepare for a journey of self-discovery and transformation, where you'll realize that scarcity isn't a destiny. It's just a temporary state that can be dissolved with intention, practice, and interconnection. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll discover simple yet powerful tools to reprogram your mind and reconnect your energy with the flow of universal prosperity. And perhaps for the first time, you'll understand that abundance isn't something external you chase. It's a frequency that already exists within you. And perhaps for the first time, you will understand that abundance is not something external that you chase after. It is a frequency that already exists within you. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what's touched you most so far. Your story may resonate with others on the same path to prosperity awakening. And don't underestimate the impact of a simple comment. It builds bridges, strengthens this community, and brings even more awareness to those who reach this point. Oh, and if you're feeling good about this content, take the opportunity to like the video right now. This will really help the channel reach more people who are seeking exactly this: clarity, connection with the universe, and inner transformation. And of course, if you want to keep receiving videos like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your participation is what makes this space grow and reach more people with this kind of message. Each interaction is like a seed planted in the fertile soil of collective expansion. Because when we share, we learn together. And that's just the beginning. Because now, we'll understand how to practically identify the mental blocks that are still holding back your abundance, and how to begin dissolving them with awareness and energy. You know that phrase that sometimes slips out without thinking? Money is hard to come by. Or, I wasn't born to be rich. It seems innocent, but it carries a silent burden that shapes decisions, expectations, and even how we view ourselves when faced with opportunities. This is what we call a limiting belief, an idea repeated so often that it ends up installing itself as an absolute truth within our minds. And these hidden truths operate behind the scenes, guiding choices, sabotaging progress, and distorting our vision of what's possible. The belief of scarcity isn't limited to financial matters. It can manifest in how you relate to time, love, and recognition. Phrases like, "I don't have enough time," "I'm not good enough," or "things never work out for me," are variations of this same programming that limits and weakens self-esteem. These are beliefs that have been absorbed along the way, through observation, through painful experiences, through constant comparisons. They can come from family, school, religion, or any environment where you learned that access to abundance should be difficult, restricted, or conditioned by something external. And the curious thing is that many of these beliefs disguise themselves as prudence or common sense. When someone says, "It's better not to risk it now," It may even seem like protective advice, but depending on the listener's internal context, this phrase reinforces an already ingrained fear of making mistakes, losing, and failing. And fear is the fuel of scarcity. It paralyzes, withdraws, and causes people to shy away from opportunities in the name of false security. The impact of all this is profound. It affects mindset, energy, relationships, and especially the ability to make confident decisions. Because when the mind is conditioned by lack, it creates arguments to keep everything as it is. And the more you believe something is difficult or inaccessible, the more you act as if it were true. And the universe, which responds to vibration, only confirms it. It's like trying to plant flowers in hardened soil. No matter how potent the seed, it finds no room to grow. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding what these blocks are is just the beginning. True transformation begins when you realize how active they are in your daily life, and that no matter how long-standing they are, it is possible to dissolve them with awareness and practice. Write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too," just so I know that you are connected to all of this and that we are together in this search for inner freedom and real prosperity. It's curious how some ideas take root in our minds as if they were unquestionable truths, and often we don't even realize when these ideas began. Have you ever stopped to think about where these beliefs of scarcity that make you doubt your own ability to thrive come from? They didn't spring from nowhere. In fact, they are constructed gradually by the words we heard in childhood, the role models we followed, the environments in which we grew up. It's as if, little by little, they were shaping the contours of our worldview until we believe that abundance is a privilege for the few. Think about the advice you received from your parents or guardians, even with the best intentions. Many grew up hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "Better be content with little," or "Dreaming too much brings frustration." These expressions carry a limiting energy that over time shapes our way of thinking, feeling, and acting. And it doesn't stop there. Culture and society reinforce this pattern with narratives of struggle, scarcity, and sacrifice. Movies, news, and even the educational system often teach that thriving requires suffering, as if it were a constant battle. But here's an important revelation. It's not your fault. You didn't consciously choose these beliefs. They were absorbed through repetition, emotion, and experience. And that's precisely why they're so difficult to identify, because they seem to be part of who you are. However, what appears to be identity may actually be conditioning. The good news is that every belief is capable of transformation. No matter how long it's been in you, the brain is malleable, and the energy surrounding you responds to your intention. It all begins the moment you recognize, "This doesn't define me." There's a powerful force in questioning these ideas. When you begin to observe your thoughts with curiosity, not judgment, you realize that many of them were inherited, not chosen. And this is liberating. It's like stepping behind the scenes of your own mind and seeing what was previously hidden. Suddenly, you have the chance to make new choices based on a mindset that empowers you, not limits you. And these decisions have a direct impact on your reality, your relationships, your finances, your self-esteem. Because when scarcity loses ground, abundance finds its way in. This journey of transformation begins with an honest look at your own story, without blame, without criticism, just with the intention of understanding. These blocks didn't arise by chance, but you don't need to. Keep feeding them. The first step is to shed light on these beliefs that operate automatically and decide that you now want something different, with more lightness, more expansion, more truth about who you truly are. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because recognizing blockages is just the gateway. The next step is learning to identify the signs that they're still active, and how this manifests in your daily attitudes, choices, and emotions. Comment here. That makes sense to me. Just so I know that you're on this quest too, and that this content is resonating within you. There are obstacles that don't scream, don't show themselves clearly, but that act behind the scenes with a subtle and constant force. They don't arrive announcing that you're sabotaging yourself. They only manifest themselves in small decisions, justifications that seem rational, choices that always have an excuse behind them. The fear of investing in something you really want because, what if it doesn't work out? The feeling of insecurity when receiving money, as if it were something temporary or shouldn't be there, or even that almost automatic comparison with those who are thriving, as if someone else's success were proof that you're behind or off track. These signs are precious revelations, They reveal an ancient programming operating within you, based on scarcity. And the curious thing is that it often hides behind habits considered normal, postponing important decisions, procrastinating on personal projects, maintaining toxic relationships for fear of being alone or dependent. All of this can be a direct reflection of a mental block that conditions you to live in lack of time, recognition, resources, self-esteem. You know that situation where you prepare, study, organize everything, and when it's time to take the final step, you freeze? The reason may not be logic, but rather an unconscious vibration that still carries doubts, fear, and feelings of inadequacy. It's as if the mind, accustomed to the pattern of scarcity, identifies expansion as a threat. And as much as you rationally want to change, something internally holds you back, creating a field of resistance that drives away opportunities. These blocks directly impact your decisions. They influence where you focus your energy, how you deal with challenges, and even how you perceive your own worth. That's why so many people get stuck in a cycle where it seems like they're always starting over, always striving, always getting close, but never truly achieving the prosperity they desire. The problem isn't the effort, but the mindset behind it. The most important thing in this identification process is to recognize patterns without guilt and with curiosity. Because when you observe your behaviors with this conscious perspective, you begin to perceive the hidden depths of your mind and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And this is the turning point. From there, you can choose new paths, new responses, new ways of positioning yourself in life and in your own abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because understanding the signs is essential, but the true power comes when you begin to recondition your mind, gradually dissolving these programs and creating a new vibrational reality aligned with the frequency of prosperity. Comment here, I've been there, just so I can feel that you're connected to this conversation and that this content is bringing light to your journey. Scarcity doesn't just affect the numbers in your bank account. It infiltrates your most intimate feelings, the silent thoughts that circulate in your mind, and the everyday gestures that no one sees. That's why the emotional impact of this pattern goes far beyond the material aspect. Scarcity is synonymous with insecurity, constant doubt, anxiety about what will come or what never arrived. And deep down, it's not just about money, it's about deserving, about believing or not that you have the right to live with fullness, lightness, and abundance. How many times have you hesitated to accept an opportunity because you thought it was too much for you, or felt uncomfortable receiving praise as if you weren't worthy? These moments reveal a hidden truth, that within many of us, there still exists an emotional structure shaped by the belief that having a lot, be it affection, freedom, or prosperity, is a privilege, not a legitimate possibility. And this creates a domino effect. The person begins to doubt their own decisions, avoids expressing themselves, hides behind the idea that they're not ready yet, and over time, this excessive caution becomes a blockage. The mind, taken over by this programming, enters a state of constant alert, and this generates anxiety, the kind of anguish that appears for no clear reason, but makes you look to the future with fear rather than hope. Fear of loss, of making mistakes, of being judged. Emotional scarcity is silent, but intense. It makes the heart tighten in the face of uncertainty, and the body carry an invisible tension, as if something were always about to go wrong. And it is precisely in this scenario that the person begins to conform, to accept less than they deserve, to create a routine based on just enough. This behavior shapes how you position yourself in the world. It affects your self-esteem, your decision-making clarity, and the quality of your relationships. Because when there's doubt about your own worth, everything becomes a negotiable proposition, even your own truth. It's common to see talented people lowering their prices, staying silent in important situations, and adapting to scarcity as if it were the only possible path. And this creates an emotional cycle of frustration, where every attempt at change seems to bump up against the same invisible barrier. This is where transformation begins to take shape, because when you understand that scarcity is a lens, not reality, you open up space to see possibilities more clearly. It's not about ignoring challenges, but about recognizing that many of the feelings you experience are not proof that you're wrong or incapable. They're simply signs that it's time to change the vibration that sustains these patterns. And this begins with an internal movement of reconnection, with the act of looking at yourself more lovingly, and allowing yourself to occupy spaces of abundance. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the emotional impact is essential, but the next step is figuring out how to recondition this mindset, using techniques and practices that go beyond logic, involving energy, intention, and the power of conscious choice. Comment here, meritoriousness is my new frequency, just to seal this moment and set in motion this new vibration that has already begun to awaken within you. This is where one of the most powerful parts of this journey begins, reprogramming the mind, because it's not enough to simply understand that limiting beliefs exist and that they're interfering with your life. True transformation happens when you consciously choose to make room for a new mindset, one aligned with prosperity, expansion, and the freedom to be who you truly are, free from the invisible baggage of the past. And this process has nothing to do with magic or ready-made formulas. It requires presence, intention, and practice. But the impact is profound, and it changes everything. The mind works like a system that requires consistent commands. If you've harbored thoughts of scarcity for years, you can't expect a single change to make abundance flow steadily. That's why reprogramming happens in detail, through the repetition of new ideas, the practice of new sensations, and the reinforcement of beliefs that truly empower you. Techniques like conscious visualization, positive affirmations, and journaling aren't just internet fads. They're tools based on how your brain and energy respond to what you think, feel, and say. When you visualize, for example, a situation of prosperity, whether finding a solution to a financial problem, receiving an unexpected gift, or feeling abundant in your daily life, you begin to create mental images that activate areas of the brain responsible for emotion, action, and decision-making. And it's not just fantasy. By visualizing with real emotion, you send a vibrational signal that the universe understands as coherence. And little by little, your reality begins to reflect this new frequency. Affirmations work like seeds. Simple phrases like, "I deserve to thrive with ease," or "everything I need is already approaching," may seem generic at first, but when spoken with intention, they become internal mantras that gradually replace the noise of scarcity. The key here is consistency. Repeat, feel, reinforce. Create a new internal dialogue that becomes increasingly automatic, until this new truth overshadows the old. Journaling, on the other hand, is like opening a portal to your hidden emotions and thoughts. When you write, without filter, about what you feel, what you believe, what you desire, something powerful happens. You bring to light hidden content, and with it, you can reframe it. You can write new stories, question old patterns, and make more informed decisions. The pen and paper become a direct channel to your consciousness, and it is in this space that many revelations emerge. It's important to remember that this process doesn't have to be rigid. You can adapt these techniques to your routine, your style, and your way of connecting. What matters is the intention behind it. Reconditioning the mind happens from the inside out, and every practice that brings you closer to abundance is valuable. There's no perfect formula. There's consistency, truth, and openness. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because there's no point in planting prosperity ideas if the emotional soil is still contaminated by old beliefs. So, in the next part, we'll talk about how to energetically and emotionally clear these blockages, so your new mindset has real room to grow and manifest powerfully. Comment here, "I'm reprogramming my mind," just to internally declare this new cycle that is beginning, and let this vibration echo even stronger on your journey. Creating a vibrational prosperity routine isn't about magic formulas or rigid steps. It's about aligning your energy with what you desire to experience. And this starts with small, everyday choices, in the details that often go unnoticed but carry immense transformative power. The first key is gratitude, but not the kind of automatic lip service gratitude. It's a heartfelt gratitude that pulses in your heart. When you truly give thanks, you shift your frequency. You move out of lack mode and into abundance mode, and that changes everything. Being grateful for what you have, for what you've already achieved, and even for what's still on the way is like opening the doors of the invisible so that the visible can manifest. Another powerful point is to bless money. Yes, bless it, because money, even though it's a human construct, carries energy, and this energy responds to how you relate to it. If you treat it with fear, guilt, or contempt, it feels it. But if you treat it with respect, gratitude and lightness. It flows. Every time you receive any amount, be it a salary, a gift, or change, mentally say, "Thank you, money. You are welcome in my life." It seems simple, but this practice has a profound impact on your mindset and your vibration. And speaking of vibration, the environment where you live or work also directly influences your energy. A cluttered, dirty space, or one filled with objects that evoke negative memories, can drain your life force without you even realizing it. Therefore, caring for your environment is caring for yourself. Open the windows, let in the light, play music that uplifts your emotional state, light incense, rearrange the furniture. Each of these gestures communicates to the universe that you are ready to receive more, that you are open to the new. Now, if you want to take it a step further, I recommend creating your own morning abundance ritual. It doesn't have to be complex or time-consuming. The important thing is that it's intentional. You can start with a deep breath, followed by a positive affirmation like, "Today I choose to live in abundance." Then, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Next, visualize your day unfolding in the best possible way, with lightness, fluidity, and unexpected opportunities arising. And finally, if you can, read an excerpt from an inspiring book or listen to an audio that raises your frequency. This ritual, done consistently, reprograms your mind and attunes your energy field to what you want to attract. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic because there's a hidden truth behind how you approach prosperity, and it's directly linked to the unconscious decisions you've been making throughout your journey, decisions that have often been shaped by inherited beliefs, past experiences, and even by what you've heard repeatedly without questioning. And that's where the turning point lies. Comment below, "I'm on this journey too." It was a typical Tuesday, and if you walked by her office that day, you'd probably see just another person behind a screen, juggling meetings, spreadsheets, and emails. But inside, something was unraveling. Anna, an administrative manager at a mid-sized company, was experiencing a silent emotional meltdown. On the outside, she looked impeccable and in control. Inside, she felt doubt, emptiness, and that persistent feeling of living someone else's life. The turning point came in an unassuming conversation with a colleague in HR. The topic started off light, with the dilemmas of working from home and the price of coffee, but slid into something deeper: purpose, choices, time, and the invisible impact we carry when we silence our own needs. The colleague said something that stuck with Anna for days. "We adapt so much to others that we forget who we are." That wasn't a new phrase. It wasn't a cosmic revelation, but it was a hidden truth she needed to hear right then and there. In the following days, Anna began a kind of internal investigation. She reviewed decisions, memories, and abandoned dreams. She didn't abandon everything at once, quit her job, or take a life-changing trip to Bali. But she began with small adjustments. She changed the time of her meetings to allow time for morning walks. She returned to writing in her old notebook, where she had previously recorded ideas for a book that never left the drawer. She began to talk more openly with her husband about the doubts she harbored. This micro-transformation gained momentum. What began as a simple phrase became a domino effect. 3 months later, Anna took on a new role within the company, not because she wanted to move up, but because she finally understood that her talent was being underutilized. She created an internal mentoring group, began giving talks on emotional health in the workplace, and for the first time in years, felt like she was truly living her own journey. The most beautiful thing about this process wasn't even the professional change. It was the reconnection with a version of herself that had been left behind. The Anna who allowed herself to be vulnerable, curious, imperfect. The transformation she experienced didn't come from a course or a miracle formula, but from the courage to ask uncomfortable questions and the sensitivity to listen to what the world was saying between the lines. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because this kind of story isn't an isolated case. It reveals invisible patterns that many people experience every day without even realizing it. There's a hidden truth behind our routines, and when we begin to see behind the scenes of our own behavior, doors that seemed locked begin to open effortlessly. That's where the real journey begins. And after everything we've seen here, it's clear how small decisions can open up completely new paths. You don't have to wait for a major turning point or an extraordinary event. Sometimes all it takes is truly listening to what's already pulsing within us. When you start looking at yourself more courageously and listening to yourself more sincerely, something moves. And this movement doesn't have to be loud. It just needs to be yours. If this content resonated with you, if any part touched you or made you think differently, do something simple that will help keep this exchange alive. Subscribe to the channel. This ensures you continue receiving content that expands your vision and provokes real transformation. And if you've made it this far, comment below. I'm with you until the end. I want to know who stayed until the very last second of this conversation. Oh, and leave a like if what we said resonated with you. This shows that it's worth continuing to produce content with this level of dedication.